Hey, what's up, Zach here. And although I don't do a lot of trail running or hiking at my office, for the last 5-6 years now, my favorite shoe for daily wear, daily standing, walking, all around shoe, just all around favorite shoe has been the Nike Zagama line. And when I heard that they were rebranding their all conditions gear, their ACG stuff, kind of bringing that back and, you know, looping the Zagama into kind of some of their new shoe products, I was really hoping they would not ruin my favorite Nike shoe. And much to my surprise, they didn't. Let's get into it. Now, there are a lot of reasons why these are my favorite daily shoes, and I will get to all of them. One of the biggest ones comes in the uppers. So comfortable. I will say the ACG Zagama, or the Zagama 3, whatever you want to call it, they did have a little bit more initial lace irritation than other models, previous models that I was used to. Once it breaks in, it was just fine. Like, it went really back to everything else. And the tongue is nice and padded on these things. It's actually more padded than their predecessors. And so that was nice, but it does take a day, or I could say an hour or two, I should say, to break in. Now, around the ankle collar and heel counter, you'll notice that these things do come up to a pretty high cut, a pretty generous mid cut. Now, this is all just microfiber at the top. Really, where the heel counter and the ankle collar come around you is kind of, it's between a mid and a low, but there is a nice big outcropping of padding on this thing. And the heel slippage on these things is mild. If you use the runner's knot or not, it's still mild. That runner's knot is actually not very wide. And so it's okay, but honestly, I didn't use it and I kind of felt the exact same. Now, if you want the ultimate lockdown, if you're using these for trail running, you just don't want to have any issues with them, use the runner's knot. But for daily wear, I found it was kind of unnecessary. In terms of breathability, these things are insane. You look at them on the microscope though, the uppers are just a basic textile. You know, obviously the tongue is microfiber and the collar is microfiber. That's just for comfort around, and it's supposed to keep dirt out. That's what they say. But the rest of the shoe, even though it is just a normal like textile, mesh weave, it just fog is coming out of here like crazy. And so they breathe exceptionally well, just like previous lines of the Zagama. Just incredible breathability on these things, incredible comfort. They lock you in pretty well because they got the integrated lace eyelets, then some cuffs. So like I said, the lockdown on these is really good. The tongue is gusseted, and then the lace line actually comes into the shoe in two different ways. So it's integrated into the uppers, then it also has another integration stitched into the strobel board. So it really does hug your midfoot, and that we'll get to in the fit section, but I think that's the biggest reason why I like these is the combination of the lace line and the forefoot. Like I said, we'll talk about that when we get into the footbed. But in terms of comfort in the uppers, lockdown in the uppers, breathability, accommodation for a lot of different foot types. Once again, from previous models till now, still my favorites. All right, now getting into the midsole teardown, obviously the pair that I cut open was one of my worn pairs of the Zagamas. I did x-rays on the new ones just because I want to wear these more. And look at the x-ray versus the midsole teardown. There really is not much change from the ones into the ACGs. I know they say they put the Zoom X on top, but in the ones, the Zoom X is also on top and the Cushlon is also the carrier. So the only thing I could find that was different was that in the ones, there actually is a little bit more of a plastic piece in the forefoot, I think to aid in forefoot torsional stability. But if you look at the new ACG's Zagama on the medial side versus the old ones, you can see it comes more to a point on the medial and lateral flange of these things. So they actually do have a medial and lateral flange versus the originals. And that's, I think, that's the difference between the ones where they have like little plastic shank here to keep it stable versus in the ACGs where they just use the shape of the shoe. Now that these things with a tensiometer, it only takes 46 newtons to get these things to 45 degrees. So it's kind of in the middle of the pack. They're slightly lower in terms of that. And then you look though at the tensiometer in terms of shock absorption. That's the real crazy thing. Even on my pair, it took 71 newtons to get that thing down 5 millimeters. These things are not like super plushy, like cloud foamy type things. They have structure underneath of them. And if you look at this thing just bending, like it bends appropriately. It bends in front of the two flanges, and that's kind of where you're getting a lot of the stability of the shoe. Also, in terms of torsionally, like it is torsionally stable. It's because there's so much Cushlon on both sides. There's so much of it. It's flat, and then the width of the heel is insane. We'll get into that in the fit section. I think that's one of the biggest reasons they're so stable, but a lot of it comes down to these outcroppings of the flange here. Now, in a court shoe, that still wouldn't do anything, right, in terms of that kind of side-to-side hard cutting and pivoting. So even if it did have these crazy flanges, they would start to break down over time in terms of side-to-side. But in terms of daily wear, in terms of running, jogging, going straight and up and down, it's just fine. And honestly, these things have a ton of support for kind of what they are. Now, if you look at the shape of them on the X-ray too, you'll see that midfoot is humped up, right? There is a pretty big arch in there. And if you look at mine that I have just beat up, it's still there. Just shows you can tune Zoom X to really do whatever you want. This is pretty resilient. Now, I am starting to beat down the heel of these things. So that's the one thing you got to watch out for, is that because these only have a 4mm drop, there is potential for a negative heel here if you're not wearing orthotics and kind of sharing the load, or just once you get over 500 miles in these things, if you really are wearing these for more running, right, and you're really pounding these on unforgiving surfaces, uneven surfaces, you're going to want to watch out for a negative heel on these things. It's where the heel sinks below the forefoot. So if you are going to be wearing them for trail running, in terms of the footbed, I probably would have an orthotic that spans a little bit more, like a longer arched orthotic, just to kind of make this thing wear normally. That is the one bad thing I'll say. Is honestly, it's funny, the one bad thing in these I can find has to actually do with trail running, not the way I use them, which is more for casual. So that's one thing that's the one thing I'll caution you about. On the bounce height test, got 40 centimeters on average, both. Really nothing new, right? It's top-loaded Zoom X, so, really. And like I said, the one I did them on was an older pair, so you probably are gonna get about, on average, when I do older shoes, it's about 3 centimeters more, so you're gonna get about 43 centimeters on a new pair, 40 on an older one. So, like you see, I mean, it holds up, which is, it holds up, except in the heel. So it is interesting kind of what they did to these from older models. Like, when I looked at their marketing, they say, well, we put more Zoom X, more cushion on, we enhance the footbed, which is all true. That's more in the fit section that they enhance things. But as you can see, what they really did was they just added medial and lateral flanges to the forefoot, took out that little plastic piece, basically just beefed up the foam. All right, in terms of the outsole tread, honestly, not a ton to talk about. It is a Vibram outsole, if that's something you're interested in. The one thing I will say I absolutely love about these is, number one, now the lugs on these things are really tall. So if you looked at the midsole teardown, I had 2 numbers on there. That's because the heel height goes from 2.4 centimeters all the way to 2.9 with the lug. Like, you don't count the lugs. Right? I mean, these are chunky lugs in there. And the one thing I like about the ACG ones, they use all that real estate for something good. They actually put nubs on the lateral sides of it, right on the sidewalls. There is micro gridding on the rest of the outsole, but then, I mean, it's for just better grip on a lot of things. Now, it doesn't matter if you're on a slick street, walking up to a curve casually, or if you're on slick rock, things like that. It's just gonna have just a much better gripping profile. And I like that because instead of just having lugs for lug's sake, right, then you actually use that real estate for something, and that is good innovation. Like, that is actually something nice to see. And so, simple, but it works. All right, but what is by far my favorite part of the Zagamas, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be yours here in a minute too, is the fit. Now, these things are incredibly generous. Remember how in the beginning of the video I said they lock down in the midfoot really well? Well, in the forefoot, that is, you'll see. Okay, so these do come in a little bit long. They come in, I measured 28.8 on the footbed, but there is a little bit more room there, so it's more like 28.9, 30, so 29, so it is a little hair long. But in the midfoot, you get 10 centimeters of midfoot width, of metatarsal width, I should say, and then 10.2 of toe box width. So these things they actually get wider by 2 millimeters from metatarsal to toe box. Now, typically, you just don't gain anything if it's a forgiving shoe, and a lot of times tapered, you're losing. You're actually gaining. That is more like an anatomic shoe. That is more like a quote-unquote foot-shaped shoe. Now, the taper in the toe box in these things is only 31 degrees. That is that is right on par with any other anatomic or foot-shaped shoe. Now, if you look here, I have a sample here of like a dedicated barefoot, or not a barefoot, I'm sorry, a dedicated foot-shaped, quote unquote, or anatomic shoe. You look at the Zagamas, it's not far off. It is super similar in terms of the raw numbers from an anatomic shoe into the Zagama. But the one thing about the Zagama is it locks you in the midfoot, which is the big thing. Remember, I did a whole video on this, how that is the ideal shoe. There you go. There they are right here. Just too bad they're not doing it in the court space. In terms of heel width, you're getting 9.2 centimeters of heel width in here. I mean, this thing is, and that's another reason why I think they're so stable, even without a shank or anything like that, is because the heel is so wide on these things. So in terms of all the stats on these things, I mean, it's awesome. So in terms of narrow, medium foot, narrow, you can go down a half size in these things if you want. There's enough length in them that you can if you want to get better lockdown on them. If you're just looking for casual wear, they'll lock you down true to size. Medium, go true to size. 2E, go true to size. A 4E, you can break them in true to size if you really want, but I'd just say probably go up one half size and you should be just fine. Honestly, these are a really nice shoe for a 4E. Even if you do want to go true to size, they'll break in fine, but half size in terms of casual wear should be okay too. In terms of a flat, neutral, or high arch, yeah, I mean, these are just fine. Ankle sprainers, you know, I would say they're okay. They're still a little bit high off the ground with the lugs. They are so wide in the rear foot. I would say while they are new, they're a check mark. And then as they get older, they're gonna, you know, as you break them in, they're gonna be a little bit worse. Now for casual wear, they're just fine. But for the trail running, I would say have an orthotic in there, make sure they're wearing down kind of normal. Plantar fasciitis, yep. Achilles tendonitis, yep. Reason is that the rear foot is so stable, right? There's no micro motion. You can fit an orthotic in there just fine through an orthotic. And these things are fantastic. Plus the midfoot offloads the forefoot. You know, everything's great. Forefoot pain, yeah, absolutely. This might be one of the best shoes out there right now just because the Zoom X is structural. You're not just pushing through Kingdom Come, but it is comfortable enough and you got enough room in the forefoot. Arch pain, yeah, absolutely, especially with an orthotic in there, because they offload the arch as it is. Throw an orthotic in there, they should be just fine. Big toe arthritis, I think they're fine. If you got it, they fit orthotics so well, you know, they're fine. Knee up and back pain, yep, that's why I wear them. And like I said, they don't have a huge drop to them. Now, if you start to wear them down and get into a negative heel, your back's gonna start to hurt. But if you wear an orthotic in them, like I said, they should be just fine, like I said, and they're great for orthotics too. So really, all in all, this to me still is the best all-around shoe Nike makes. This is it. Like, and it's frustrating because they know how to do it, right? You throw a shank in this and, you know, this kind of setup, put a shank in it and then you last it, you know, under the midfoot here, like a court shoe. And tennis and basketball, volleyball be just fine. You know, they know how to make them. You know, it's just that I don't know why we're not seeing that in some other things, but obviously they know how to make an incredibly well thought out, intuitive shoe. And so as you can see, I did not cut these open. I cut an older pair because I'm gonna keep wearing them. So if you wanna know what I'm wearing right now, this is it. Now, I just did a video about all the other shoes I wear in a day and all my other daily shoes. If you wanna check that out, the shoes I actually wear every single day for work, working out, tennis, basketball, daily wear around the house, to my office to stand all day to walk in. I got a whole list of shoes that I personally wear and that have worked for me. I'll leave that video linked right here. Make sure you subscribe down below. I'll see you in the next video.